Zach Barnett joins us on Fridays in the 3 o'clock hour from Football Scoop, and he's here. And, Zach, big story for the week, of course, the James Franklin firing over the weekend after yet another loss that was so unexpected. Your thoughts about the rumors, but more importantly, did Penn State get this right?
I think so. I think it's the rational move to make. You can only bang your head against the wall so many times. And I write about this if not now, when concept. At some point, you're building. At some point, you got to have that breakthrough win. And James Franklin had like 5 or 6 of them, obviously most recently the Oregon game. And they didn't win. They didn't get the breakthrough, so it broke them. Everything was built towards finally breaking through. You were preparing for that game for 10 months. You had 2 weeks off to prepare. You lost, and Penn State, for one reason or another, couldn't get back up off the bat, and it was time to move on. And, I mean, even if they'd won those games against UCLA, against Northwestern, they're not beating Ohio State. They're not winning anything meaningful. So I completely get it, and I don't necessarily blame James Franklin. I don't think he did a terrible job. I think it's just physics. What goes up must come down.
Zach, who is the best coach to fix them, in your opinion?
I'm not the first person who threw this out, so I'm not going to take credit for it. But I think Matt Campbell would do great things there. He's been at Iowa State for a long time, and it seems like he's been waiting for one of those Big Four Midwestern jobs to open, and this is the first one to really come open since he got Iowa State up. And his historic success there is like 2.5 times what Iowa State would expect to win. And last year, admittedly, would have been better timing for him being in the Big 12 championship game. This year, if they go 6-6, he's a victim of his own success because that's a good year for Iowa State historically. He's from Ohio, was the coach at Toledo before then. I think he's the guy. Certainly, I'm not handing him the job on the silver platter. I'm going to talk to whoever I can talk to, but I think realistically you'd have a hard time doing better than him.
Do you feel like Nebraska fans can sleep peacefully, or do they need to still have one eye open?
It's kind of funny because if Matt Rhule does go, then and I'm Nebraska, I just hire Matt Campbell and I might get a better football coach. But obviously Rhule, he's on schedule there. He said all the right things. He said as of today, as of this week, he plans on being at Nebraska, but that's true until it's not. So I definitely don't think you should rush to extend him either. Just because Penn State's open, I don't think that you need to tie yourself down to some $70 million guarantee when he hasn't exactly knocked your socks off so far. So maybe you offer him a sweetener to stay, but I don't think you rewrite and give him a Signetti-like deal, because if he does, there's other coaches that can go 5-1 at Nebraska.
Yeah, that's about been their ceiling, that 5, 6, or 7 wins. Now, if in fact Franklin coaches next year, and do you think he will? And if he does, there's Arkansas's open. We don't know about the others, maybe Florida, whatever. What might be a good fit for him?
For his own health, I hope he chooses somewhere where winning a national championship is not the be-all, end-all, because he's unlikely to get closer than he did last season. I mean, just regionally, he has a lot of connections in that Mid-East area, so I'd love for him to take Virginia Tech if he's interested. I know there's a lot of qualified coaches circling that job, but it's hard to believe any of them are more qualified than him. And I think he'd do a great job there. Like he's consistently gets his last 2 weeks, obviously notwithstanding, but over a decade plus, he gets his teams up to play week in, week out. And there's no Ohio State in that conference. There's no national championship level Michigan in that conference. So I think that would work out well for both sides if it comes to pass.
Zach, I'm going to throw out Wisconsin for you on that one as well, because think about what Barry Alvarez did. He's kind of that same kind of coach. Unless Wisconsin thinks that the next guy is going to win a national title, but maybe he just wants to be out of the Big Ten.
Yeah, if I'm someone close to James Franklin, I'm saying, do you really want to be back in the Big Ten, chasing after a same conference championship you're probably not going to win, especially in Wisconsin's current state? I think Wisconsin, if Jim Leonard wants that job, I don't see them not giving to him and waiting as long as it takes, because There's been a couple times now where they've tried to go outside the family, and it's gone terribly. They went with Gary Anderson. He was up and gone after 2 seasons, and now Luke Fickell. So I fully expect them to make an in-the-family hire.
So this has been a great season for your website. I mean, talking about all these coaching jobs and everything that's jumped up. Is the next shoe to drop Florida if you're trying to predict the future?
I think probably the next shoe to drop is Wisconsin itself.
Okay.
I mean, you had Luke Fickell come out and admit that it was rock bottom when they lost 37-0 to Iowa last week. So if I'm forced to place a bet, that's where I'd go.
Zach Barnett, footballscoop.com with us on 365 Sports. So what are your thoughts about the Big 12 this weekend with Tech at Arizona State, Utah and the Holy War at BYU? This is fun. These are two highlighted games. I know Arizona State losing a couple of times has diminished it a little bit, but it's at whatever they call the stadium now, but a couple of bangers, so to speak, within the conference.
Yeah, I think personally I'm looking forward to the Holy War more than Tech Arizona State, simply because Arizona State has been fighting the post-championship hangover all season long, squeaked out a couple wins that they were fortunate to get, but I think that starts to catch up with them now. So I know Tech's dealt with some injuries, but they've still won every single game they've played by double digits so far. So I expect a semi-comfortable Tech win. That team just seems a class above everyone else in that conference right now. So I think Utah, BYU, if I had to watch one Big 12 game this week and only one, that's certainly it. I mean, that's as heated as any rivalry there is in college football right now. And going to BYU, I think it's going to be an absolutely great scene, and I can't wait to watch that one.
What do you think about the impending doom of Billy Napier, though? I mean, how long can they drag this out? They've got a bye week coming up. It seems like win or lose, that would be the best time to do it.
Yeah, I think as long as your players keep playing for you, even if it's not ultimately where you want it to be, as long as the players keep playing for you and you keep being competitive, I don't think you're in a rush to make a change. I know Oklahoma State, their AD did an in-house podcast this week and talked about all the advantages that he's had by being able to shop his job on the open market that Scott Strickland would not be able to do at Florida. But at the same time, I mean, unless you absolutely have to do it like Oklahoma State did, it opens up a can of worms to fire a coach who the players are still playing for. So if it's me, I'm putting that off as long as I possibly can, and that's going to be determined by the players' effort level.
Zach, I know you went to that North Texas game last week. We talked about it. I wish we were circling back under better terms, but just kind of what did you make of that? I mean, obviously South Florida is really good. That's where you can start, and they're very likely to be the G5 playoff representative. But how do you think the Mean Green kind of bounced back from that golden opportunity that just didn't go their way?
Yeah, I hope the fans bounce back better than the fan base. The North Texas has a lot of alums and supporters, but obviously they've struggled historically to get them in the building. And obviously they finally did last Friday. And it went as all the North Texas administration, it played up to their fears, the longtime fans, of getting them in the building and then not giving them a reason to come back. And North Texas obviously didn't play the game they hoped to play, turning it over 6 times. But also South Florida was just bigger, stronger, faster than them. There was a different class of athlete on the South Florida roster, starting with the quarterback, Byron Brown, who's just a stud. So UTSA doesn't have that class of a quarterback. I don't think they're going to be as big and strong on the offensive and defensive lines as South Florida was. So if you can win this game, you're still in a great position. I think if you can have 25,000 of the 31,000 you had back in the stadium, then that's a good bounce back for the fans. But obviously, the players' mental state is a lot more important than the fans.
You know, there's big names that are obviously big programs like Franklin, whatever happens with Florida. But how not surprised, because Kalen DeBoer was a hell of a good coach, but he has completely, it's almost like they did not lose that game to Florida State. Now, this not a gimmick because Tennessee has won 2 of the last 3 games, I think. But what are your thoughts about how he's changed, or at least they now seem to be just rolling?
Yeah, I think it's a credit to him for not panicking and continuing to stay the course. And I wasn't in the room, obviously, but it seems like really the only change that they made is they got back there on Sunday and Monday and sat down with Ty Simpson and say, all right, here's the throw you missed. Put the ball here right now, and it's a completion. And Ty Simpson was just late on a lot of those throws. And the defense, I don't think, was prepared for what Gus Malzahn and Tony Castellanos were going to throw at them. And so they stayed the course, and they've coached Ty Simpson to be the best quarterback in the SEC, and now they're reaping the benefits of that. So, I mean, to go potentially 4 straight weeks and beat 4 straight top 20 opponents would be national championship level, a national championship quality accomplishment if they're able to do it. And I think they will. I mean, Tennessee has scored on everyone they've played, and they've allowed just about everyone they've played to score on them as well. Alabama plays a lot slower pace, lower scoring games, but I expect to see a high scoring start and then a slow Alabama type finish to win the game, something like 34-24 tied.
What do you think about Ole Miss rolling out Trinidad Chambliss again? He's red hot, but between the hedges against Georgia.
Yeah, traditionally Ole Miss has come up just athletes short against your Alabamas and your Georgias, and obviously they beat Ole Miss or Georgia at home last season and beat the brakes off of them. But it's tough for me to see that at between the hedges. I'm going to need to see that to believe it. Ole Miss's biggest quality win right now is over an LSU team at home that we're all kind of waiting for the bottom to fall out. They won that game by 5 points. I don't think that translates to going on the road and beating a Georgia team. But if they do that, Ole Miss is as close to as home free as you're going to get in the SEC this season, because their last ranked opponent is next week on the road at Oklahoma, and who knows how good they even are. So, and they wouldn't even necessarily have to win that game to get to 7-1, so long as they win all the games that they're favored to win moving forward.
Did you ever think that Indiana's football coach would be getting the kind of money he's getting, although he's earned it, based on supply and demand, and the 3rd highest ranked paid head coach in college football?
No, and anyone who says otherwise is absolutely lying to you. I mean, Kurt Signorri is going to make nearly $1 million a month to coach Indiana football. I certainly did not see that coming, and it's funny to me because everyone was ripping Penn State for signing that fully guaranteed extension for James Franklin that now they're having to pay nearly $50 million or $50 million plus actually to get out of. And then Indiana turns around and does the same thing to Kurt Signorri, and it's like, okay, yeah, well, you got to do that deal. Penn State's coming. So it's just we decry how this cycle is created, but then we applaud as it repeats itself with another coach. The difference, obviously, is even if Indiana somehow falls back to an 8-4 type team, you're still probably getting your money's worth out of Kurt Signorri.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it, Zach. Love having you on Fridays to kind of wrap up the week and look into the weekend, too. Zach Barnett with us, footballscoop.com, and Craig nailed it.